Hello, so in this video you will learn how to summon really powerful dark Hindu negative/demonic entities. So in previous part of this course you learned how to summon beginner level entities. Lavaliangati Saman and Chudarmani Adhavena, and how to connect with the spirits of Karopanayal Yantra. Now you know how to do that, and now we will teach you how to summon Pishacha Mayalakan, Vinaya Kadantin, Rakshasi Lankini, and Asura Kalanemi. Now we are entering advanced level of this course. Indeed, this course is meant to be followed in this particular way. You summon the entities in the order prescribed and you work with them in the order prescribed in the course. And you study with them and study under them. This part of the course is filmed with an intention and with information in mind that you already studied the beginner levels of the course and you already developed your astral senses. So before we start with the course, I will shortly talk about entities mentioned here and I will discuss their true nature. So Pishacha Mayalakan is the demon of ignorance and the demon who conceals the knowledge. He is used mostly to open up astral senses in a really advanced manner. And he will teach you how to go into the realms and write the yantras and shit like that. But he will teach you that on a basic level. Then you will study under Vinaya Kadantin, who will teach you how to accept and absorb enormous amounts of negative energy and fortify your astral body. After you learn that, you will study under Rakshasi Lankini, the dark, seductive, sexual tantric entity responsible for vampirism, and she will teach you how to travel through the tantric realms in advanced manner, through the lower realms in advanced manner, as well as how to open up the gateways to the negative realms yourself in a really advanced manner. After you studied under those three entities and learned, then you will study under Asura Kalanami, the Lord and the Demon of Time, who will teach you really advanced mysteries. Now when you know what you will study in this course, follow it and be hardworking. The results will follow. This video is dedicated towards Hindu demon Asura, known as Apasmara or Pishatra Mayalakan. This demon is the part of the Hindu Ayanist Tantric tradition, and this is being which came to me on many occasions and wanted to work with me. He is really interesting spirit. For us to understand his lore, we need to focus on this image to know who Apasmara is. So you know all, or almost all, the image of the cosmic dance of Shiva, in which Lord Shiva, Shivadeva, the god of knowledge and wisdom, dances within a wheel, and he stops and stomps upon a small dwarven figure which lies on the lower part of the wheel. That lower figure, that small dwarf figure, is nobody else than Pishatra Mayalakan, or Apasmara, the demon of ignorance. Now he dwells within the realm of Pishatra, and his name is Mayalakan or Apasmara, and his name means ignorance or nonsense. So he is the demon who is created by the Brahman or the All and given the task of guarding the hidden knowledge from the gods and men. So he is responsible for existence of ignorance within this realm. But he is also a being which can reveal enormous hidden knowledge. Larger amounts of hidden knowledge than the majority of the spirits which exist within this world and within this spiritual reality. He seems to be extremely interested in humanity and human evolution. And he also seems to be extremely interested in experiencing this specific plane of existence. Now, as my audience, you probably know that Apasmara is a demon of Hindu lore, but you also probably know that I have specific neurological disorder, cerebral paralysis. Well, I summoned Apasmara yesterday, or Pishatra Mayalakan, and today I researched more of his lore in order to prepare for this video. And guess what I found? I found that Apasmara is also connected to neurological disorders. So this cannot be a coincidence. And now I will give you the method how to summon Apasmara or Pishatra Mayalakan. Now let's go into a little bit of detail how Pishatra Mayalakan or Apasmara can be summoned. And I was surprised to find how simple and effective evocation methods are on Ionist website, which I will put in the description below. And I will also put a YouTube video where I found information on how to summon Apasmara in the description below. And I will also put a Patreon of Ion World Foundation in the description below. That way you can check out all of my sources and use them as you wish. But right now I will tell you how to summon Apasmara. So right now you will see the yantra on the screen. The yantra is a magical symbol which acts as a gateway or portal. And by inscribing yantra on the floor, on the piece of paper, you already weakened the realm within the worlds. Now this yantra, this specific yantra, is connected somehow to Pishatra Tala, where Pishatra Mayalakan resides. So in order to summon Pishatra Mayalakan, write this Tala gateway into the lower realms, either on the piece of paper or on the floor, and glaze into it and gaze upon it while repeating Pishatra Mayalakan, Pishatra Mayalakan, Pishatra Mayalakan, Pishatra Mayalakan, Pishatra Mayalakan Apasmara, Pishatra Mayalakan Apasmara, over and over again. By the way, there are some key things I need to tell you here. Do not notice and gaze into the details upon the seal. Simply put the seal in front of your eyes and gaze through the seal. Don't pay attention to the details. Instead, repeat the name of Mayalakan, Pishatra Mayalakan, over and over again until your rational mind dissolves, so you can notice the spiritual energy, until you enter that meditative state. Now, many people make fundamental mistake of counting how many times they repeated particular mantra. Don't be that idiot. Don't be so ignorant. Okay? Just repeat the mantra Be relaxed and look upon the seal as if you are looking through it. And focus on repetition of the mantra, By the way, while you repeat the mantra, you should also focus on your emotion and desire to summon a spirit. Don't rationally try to notice a spirit or don't try to rationally comprehend it. Instead, just focus on your emotion to summon a spirit, on your desire to summon a spirit, while looking into the yantra you see right now on the screen. In a relaxed manner, and repeat the chant over and over again. Actually, I need to elaborate once again the entire procedure. During the night, preferably at 2 a.m., you draw this yantra either on the floor or at a piece of paper. You put it in front of yourself. And then, when you do so, in a relaxed manner, gaze into the yantra, the gateway you see on the screen, without paying attention to the details or lines of the yantra. You don't have to draw the yantra exactly as you see it on the screen, but it's preferable for your drawing to be as resembling yantra on the screen as much as possible. But this yantra is easy to draw, so I don't see any problem in drawing this. So draw this, preferably at 2 a.m. during the night. Asuras are summoned almost exclusively during the night, and during the day it's difficult to summon them because the energies of the sun technically banish their resonance, so it is really difficult to open a gateway and summon them. That's the reason why you summon the spirit in 2 a.m. So let's keep things clear. Draw this yantra during the night, preferably at 2 a.m. in a room which is not heavily lighted. Be relaxed and gaze into the yantra in a relaxed manner without paying attention to the details of the lines of yantra you are gazing into. Then repeat the name of Pishatra Mayalakan and the magical chant for summoning him you will see in white letters below the yantra on the screen. Repeat over and over again. Pishatra Mayalakana Pasmara, Pishatra Mayalakana Pasmara, Pishatra Mayalakana Pasmara, Pishatra Mayalakana Pasmara, while relaxedly gazing in yantra in front of you. While you repeat the mantra and gaze into the yantra or the gateway, you do not count the number of repetitions or focus on details of the yantra. Rather, you focus on your emotion to summon the spirit, on your emotional drive to summon the spirit. And you focus on that emotion and cultivate it until you feel the energy of the spirit. When you feel the energy of the spirit with you in the room, it is a key to go to the next step, which is focusing on the energy of the spirit and continuing to chant the mantra and look into the yantra. Now, once the presence of the spirit reaches the amount of density which cannot be ignored, then you start talking to the spirit and giving him your requests. In Ayanist website, they say that Pishatra Mayalakan or Apasmara can use your negative energy or negative energy of his realm to curse your enemies. He can also vampirize negative energy of you in order to bring good luck in your life. He can manifest you money according to the Ionist website I found my information on. But personally, I asked Mayalakan myself for the most important role of his, which is his role as a gatekeeper of knowledge. And I asked him to open me a gateway to the knowledge and to the wisdom. And he kinda did this immediately. He remained with me for the rest of the night, and now when you know how to summon Mayalkan, we will in detail explain to you my experience with him. So, my experience with Pishatra Mayalakan is as follows. I summoned him in the exact way I described to you in this video. Iron World Foundation on their website suggests some other things you should do to summon the spirit, but I can only talk about the methods I applied personally. So, I drew the yantra on the paper, I looked at the yantra and repeated Pishatra Mayalakan as a mantra until the spirit arrived. Then when the spirit arrived, I repeated the mantra over and over again to increase the presence, and then when I was satisfied with the presence felt, I talked to Mayalakan. And what I received was a little bit intense, to say the least. After the ritual, he refused to leave and technically remained for entire night. And he asked me to film this video as an act of gratitude, and he told me that if I film this video, he will help me to tap into more Ionistic knowledge and to go further. That's the reason why I am filming it. But I will tell you a few things he told me. First thing which he insisted on is that there is no difference between light and darkness. Light and darkness, or void and the creator light, are two halves of the same thing. And he insisted that there is no such a thing as coming and cutting yourself off from the source and going into darkness, because darkness is part of the source. And she insisted that there is no such a thing as apotheosis, because the darkness is part of the universal mind, and if you tap into darkness, you are technically tapping into the more feminine form of universal mind. There is no such a thing as damnation, and those who are in darkness are not damned. They are just enlightened by the different form of power. That was the main thing Mayalakan told me. Another thing Mayalakan told me is that aggression and aggressive destruction, in spiritual sense, was necessary for expansion of consciousness. After those words, he remained with me and he vampirized me, technically, for the rest of the night. But the way I realized that it wasn't him feeding off me is when he finished, somewhere in the middle of the night, she actually made me feel a really strong euphoria. And I felt a big surge of energy coming from my feet into my legs and into my root energy center. So what Mayalakan did is he opened my subroot chakras, which are known as lower dimensions, or talas in Hinduism. He opened energy centers which are below root center, and he opened them in a really raw physical way. What I expected to feel from that is I expected to feel psychopathy, but no. What I felt was pure bliss and euphoria once he opened those centers. Now, Mayalakan will also teach you how to tap into the all and transcendental states through consumption of meat, sex, and alcohol. He teaches you a way how to expand your consciousness and obtain knowledge through carnal pleasure. According to him, if we tap into carnal pleasure with an intention to reach the darker aspect of the divine, because according to him there is only one divine and there is only one source, which is the light and the darkness at the same time. There is no difference between the two, according to Mayalakan himself. If we try to tap into darker half of universal all through carnal pleasure, and if we enjoy in carnal pleasure in the act of ritual with the goal to unite with all things, then we will truly be liberated. But if we enjoy the carnal pleasure for the sake of carnal pleasure, we will be ultimately destroyed. So Malakan teaches union with all things through carnal pleasure and banishment of ignorance through carnal pleasure. That's his way. And he motivated me to engage in as much carnal pleasures as possible with an intention to unify with the all. That was his direct guidance. Drink as much alcohol, eat as much meat, and practice as much sex through ritual to unify with the all. And you will be liberated from all things in your true destiny. That's what he told me. And it was really raw and really physical. Since I summoned Mayalakan, I got a strong urge to engage in carnal pleasure, but through engaging in that carnal pleasure, I felt the amount of bliss I never felt in my life for 7 years of intense spiritual practice. So what is also another thing Mayalakan taught me is that there is no easy way to liberation. So he told me that in order to study under him and grasp the basics, I need to summon him for 120 nights, every single night, to reach the basic understanding of his mysteries. He told me that there are 3 main patrons which I will follow upon the left-hand tantric path into the darker aspects of divine. Those 3 patrons are Pishantra Mayalakan, you are listening about right now, Asura Kalanemi, the spirit responsible for setting the limits of time, the demon of time, and Shiva Deva, or Lord Shiva, one of the Hindu gods, who is also having authority over both Asuras and Devas, and he is really completely different animal. Shiva is kinda whitewashed in the modern New Age community, and actual devotees of Shiva, the guys who actually practice yoga and tantra, do not practice what we are taught here in the Western New Age cycles. Actually, summoning asuras or Hindu demons is necessary part of majority of tantric schools out there. So Shiva is the father of those mysteries. He is the first tantric, he is the first yogi, and he is definitely not that fluffy New Age version of him presented in the West. So that's everything I have to say regarding Shiva Deva, but now return to Pishatra Mayalakan for a second once again. So Pishatra Mayalakan is definitely a being who comes intensely, and he is really powerful entity. Only summoning Mayalakan and simply asking him to expand your consciousness and give hidden knowledge brings immediate expansion of consciousness. Now, what I am not trying to say is that summoning Mayalakan once will make you enlightened. It won't. To truly be unified with all things, you need to dedicate one lifetime or even multiple lifetimes exclusively toward pursuit of union with the all in order to have any significant result. But Pishatra Mayalakan is one of those spirits who will lead you to that union with the all quicker than many. But as you probably can guess, his path is much more dangerous than path proposed by many other spirits. According to Pishatra Mayalakan, it is possible to unify with the Brahman through pure destruction, which dissolves the limits of morality, light and darkness. But this is extremely dangerous. So Pishatra Mayalaka advises for his initiates to expand their perception and consciousness first before starting to master any of true techniques he has to offer. And you kinda need to summon him, in my case, for 120 days in a row every night in order to grasp the initial basics. And every time you skip a day, in my case, I have to summon him twice to compensate for skipping a day. So he is really harsh teacher. But I summoned him only once, and then he told me to make this video, and I will summon him tonight too. But you can definitely see that he is harsh teacher, an extremely powerful being, which teaches things which are not politically correct from modern point of view on what spirituality is. Also, Pishatra Mayalakan claims that separation between spiritual and material is absolute illusion, which needs to be obliterated in order for us as seekers of truth to actually see the Brahman or the all in his darker and lighter forms, because as Pishatra says, it is fundamental for the man to reach spirituality through spiritual aspects of his material experience. That's technically the simulation and sublimation of everything he told me during this first summoning. Now, Pishatra Mayalakan then went on detailed explanation how engaging in certain aspects of carnal pleasure can really quickly dissolve the rational mind and temporarily awaken the divine powers of man. I kinda need to summon him multiple times to actually understand what he said, because really he said so much and I understood maybe 10% of what he was saying. So I kinda need to summon him again, and I need to understand what he said, guys, in order for me to actually be able to explain to you what the fuck he is saying. So this video became pretty long because the entity about who we talked in this video is absolutely impressive. So I encourage everybody to respectfully and with dedication summon Pishatra Mayalakan. He can do all of the things I said in the video, but working with him and manifesting shit with him takes time. He is kind of one of those guys who can do a lot of things really quickly, and he will, but he will force you to work hard for absolutely every single thing you ask of him. He is definitely not here to satisfy your egotistic desires. He is aware of his purpose, and he will do whatever you ask of him, as long as that thing is within his office. We talked about what his office is before. But he will kinda demand of you to work hard yourself to achieve that in order for him to help you on the issue. But it doesn't negate the fact that if you are in some urgent need, he will definitely help you quickly. But if there is no urgency, he will make you to work hard for what you asked. You will definitely guess that in a single night, really hard night, he gave me the most euphoric experience ever, and I am still euphoric from experience of him opening my lower energy centers. But it took time, it took effort, and it took a lot of intense ritual. That ritual I performed to Pishatrama Yalakan last night was one of the most intense rituals I ever did. And I want to thank Pishatrama Yalakan for the end of this video, and I encourage everybody to summon this entity. Thanks for watching, and see you tomorrow. Today we are going to talk about Vinayaka Dantin. Now we will explain first who is Vinayaka Dantin and how to work with him, what he can do for you. So Vinayaka Dantin is a demonic shadow form of Hindu god Ganesh. He is extremely powerful negative entity which resides in the lower realms. He is comprised of almost entirely pure destructive energy, really dark being, really sinister being. He is appeased by sacrilegious acts and the worship of the material world. The main point of his worship and the work with him is to essentially accumulate negative energy through material actions and travel the left-hand path. He is a really powerful guide. He can be used, in my experience, for 4 different things. Strengthening of the magician on all levels. He can be used to protect as well as to cause harm. One last thing which Dantin can be used for is to infuse the magician with enormous amounts of negative energy for the sake of spiritual evolution. You see the inscription on the screen. It is the yantra of the Vinayaka Dantin. And this yantra is used to call Dantin. Now, I advise this only for advanced tantric practitioners who already opened their astral senses through summoning of other negative entities and who are able to presence the spirits easily, because Dantin is not the force you want to offend. You see yantra on the screen. You should draw this yantra during the night, preferably at 2 a.m. while chanting the name of Vinayaka Dantin over and over again. Inscribe the yantra and then chant. After about half of an hour of chanting, the Dantin will be presenced. There is one really important thing you need to know. When you work with the yantras, don't focus on every detail of the individual yantra. Just look at the yantra without focusing on details. Kinda stare through it and chant. After Dantin appears, it's really important to understand one thing. Dantin's purpose is to merge with the human beings in order to help them to understand the Brahma. That is the thing Dantin is willing to do with everyone. However, once you merge with negative entities, it is recommended to keep doing it, otherwise it can lead to negative consequences. So, after you tell Dantin you want to merge with him and you want him to stay with you, you can ask for any material request, preferably the things I earlier listed in the video. So, this is a really short tutorial on how to call Vinayaka Dantin. This is insightful video, it's short for a reason. If you watch this video, I recommend that you watch first my left hand path tantric tutorial. Now, this is the first piece of my work with Dantein, the first part of the tutorial. In other parts of this tutorial, we will discuss more philosophical aspects of Dantein and what she is and represents on a more higher metaphysical level. This first introductory part was only there to show you how to summon Dantein. And now, after we finish that and throw that out of the window, we will discuss more nuanced philosophical aspects of Dantein and some of the higher applications of his mysteries. So, in this part of the video, we will examine more esoteric roles of Vinayaka Dantein and his relationship with Ganesha. So, essentially, the Vinayaka Dantein is, according to the Ayan World Foundation and Hindu Ayanist lore I read so far, the third spirit who works in the lower Talic realms, according to the Hindu lore. He is the third chief. So the order of the chiefs is as follows: Lavalian Gatisaman and Chudarmanian Adhavena, then Pishacha Mayalkan, and then Vinayaka Dantein. So as you see, Vinayaka Dantein is the third spirit in lie. He is the shadow form of Ganesh, a monstrous elephant which feeds off negative energy and brings destruction upon the world. So Ganesha is known as the one who removes the obstacles, who banishes negative energy. But Dantein is known as one who feeds off negative energy Ganesha removes. So essentially they are two parts of the same circuit, two sides of the same coin. It is not clear, however, what is exactly the nature of a connection between Dantein and Lord Ganesha. Does they represent two aspects of one same consciousness, or two different beings coming from the same source? It is not clear. However, what is indeed clear is that according to Ganesha and Dantein themselves, they cannot be truly seen as separate beings. Dantein and Ganesha are kinda inseparable, yet separated at the same time. However, this doesn't mean that application of Dantein and Ganesha are similar. Applications of Dantein and Ganesha are really different, and their manifestation in the world differs profoundly. Dantein brings difficulty while Ganesha removes it. Dantein brings hardship and negative emotion while Ganesha removes it. Dantein brings bliss in tantric form, in tantric sense, while Ganesha brings bliss in a conventional sense. Ganesha is the god which fundamentally makes your life easier, while Dantein will inflict you with all kinds of maladies in order to make you stronger. However, it needs to be understood that Dantein and Ganesha essentially have the same goal for the aspirant: to make them spiritually powerful and enlightened through different paths and different ways. There is also a third form of Ganesha, which is known as Vinayaka or Vinayaki, and it is a tantric goddess, one of the 10 Mahavidyas, and that form of Ganesha is essentially a crossover between Dantein and conventional form of Ganesha. So, what I also received as a vision, by the way, this last part is unverified personal gnosis. Is a mythology where essentially Ganesha was first a normal being, and then Shiva accidentally cut his head off and then put elephant head on him. And so that's how Ganesha got his elephant head. Well, in the moment in which Lord Shiva put the elephant head upon the lifeless body of Ganesh, that's where the first seeds of Dantein were planted, because essentially at the moment in which Ganesha was created, he felt enormous negative emotion towards Lord Shiva because Lord Shiva beheaded him. But this is just my personal vision. Ayanist lore has a different interpretation. They claim that the Vinayakadantin, the negative form of Ganesh, was created by the divine sacrificer who uttered holy verses and holy mantras and created the Dantin from the sacrilegious flame by the power of the left side of the Brahman. This is Dravidian Ayanist lore. So then again, in this case, I would put my personal gnosis below as less compared to the Ayanist teaching. Also, it is said in the Ayanist lore that Vinayakadantin is not simply a dark form of Ganesh. He is a manifestation of negative energy as a whole, and every single devotee of Vinayakadantin, negative form of Ganesh, which brings agony, is essentially one scale upon his skin. So Vinayakadantin in that sense would be some form of totality of negative energy incarnated in a form of Ganesha's negative aspect. And he would represent a negative hive mind to which all of his devotees are connected. Also, there is a name of famous Vinayakadantin devotee known as Ayanist scripture. I am not sure am I pronouncing the name right, but I think the name is Zananatin. Zananatin is essentially the prime disciple of Vinayakadantin, Ganesha's shadow form, and he is known to be bewitched by Dantin according to the Lord. What it really means is that negative energy intoxicates and it gives you different perspective of the world. It gives you different perspective of the universe. And in that sense, to the outside observers, the one who is devotee of Vinayakadantin, the one who is swimming in the sea of current of negative energy, to outside world looks like he is bewitched. But within himself, he is experiencing, the devotee is experiencing the negative side of the Brahman. And he is experiencing bliss and agony at the same time. And he is having a spiritual ecstasy. But to the outside world, he is observed as bewitched and insane and crazy. So, this is my interpretation of the Dantin lore. And I will analyze a lot of more things in the videos to come. But let's now turn to the part 3 of this. So in this last part of the tutorial, I will explain in more significant detail how to summon Dantin and what to do. So you will see yantra on the screen and you will see chant on the screen. So you should wait for really late at night, preferably 2 a.m. But if you cannot do it at 2 a.m., do it some time later in the night. After 9 p.m. is when the energies of the lower entities, of the darker entities, become much stronger. So my advice is this. Okay? Draw this yantra while chanting the chant Vinayakadantin Atairankuyan Enisuyan. Vinayakadantin Atairankuyan Enisuyan. Vinayakadantin Atairankuyan Enisuyan. Vinayakadantin Atairankuyan Enisuyan. Over and over again. And look into the yantra you drew without focusing on the details of the yantra. Just focus or just stare in direction of the yantra without thinking about it and chant. After some time, depending on your spiritual level, you will feel the presence of Vinayaka Dantin. Once you feel the presence of Vinayaka Dantin, you will address him with the following words. O demonic form of Ganesh, the Lord of the lower Talic realms, I call you to merge with me and remain here. I call you to become one with you. Then his energy will become much more intense and he will start penetrating your energy field. While this happens, keep chanting. Once you felt that the Vinayaka Dantin significantly penetrated your energy field, you should ask him for something material. This ritual should be performed every night in order for merging with Dantin to be facilitated. And many adversities, but also the blessings of negative energy will come in your life. And the material things you requested will happen. You simply need to keep merging on a daily basis. Actually, nightly basis with Dantin for this to happen. And once again, I need to repeat the chant. The chant is Vinayaka Dantin Atairankuyan Enisuyan. The material request should be given only after merging request. Once you start merging, my recommendation is to not stop doing it. Keep merging with him or other negative entities and keep doing it. There is also one other thing which I need to say. Negative energy which you absorb can bring depression and anxiety and all forms of illnesses and maladies. So in order to avoid this from happening, while you are summoning Dantin on a nightly basis, you should once in 3 nights give him alternative version of the request when he comes to you. Alternative version of the request is the following. Vinayaka Dantin, the dark demonic form of Ganesh, I call you to attune me to all of the dark negative energy I already possess. Once you say it, he will start attuning you to the negative energy and preventing negative energy in your system from calling and causing illnesses and maladies into your life. It's really fundamental to alternate between requests for merging and the request for attunement and resonance. So, 2 requests for merging, then 1 request for resonance, 2 requests for merging, 1 request for resonance, and alternate like that the routine. After you asked for merging or resonance in the same ritual, you can also in the same ritual ask for material gain of the kind you wish, or for increase of physical strength. So yeah, I explained in a solid detail what to do and how to summon him. So once again, to elaborate, draw the yantra, and while you are drawing the yantra, you chant Vinayaka Dantin Atairankuyan Enisuyan. After you finish drawing, you simply stare into the yantra and chant until the Dantin comes. When he comes, give him one of the 2 requests presented in this video, and then after you ask him for some of those requests, you can also ask him the same ritual for the material gain or increase of physical strength. Thanks for watching and see you tomorrow. Everything you need to know is on the screen. Yakadantin Atairankuyan Enisuyan Vinayaka Dantin Atairankuyan Enisuyan Vinayaka Dantin Atairankuyan Enisuyan Vinayakadantin Atairan kuyan Nenisuyan 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 Vinayakadantin Atairankuyan 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 Nenisuyan. Okay, so this will be a relatively short video about Rakshasi Lankini. So Rakshasi Lankini is the Hindu demoness which guards the gateways between the worlds of negative energy. She is the third entity, or fourth, depending on your preference, to be approached on the tantric ladder. The order is as follows. First, you work with Lavaliangati Saman and Chudarmani and Adhavena. Then you have to work with Vinayakadantin or Rakshasi Lankini. You can work with Dantin first or with Lankini first, it doesn't matter. But after you finish with Gatisaman and Adhavena, you have to work with either Dantin or Lankini. So in previous part, you learned how to work with Vinayakadantin, the shadow form of Ganesh, and now we will talk about Rakshasi Lankini. So just shortly, I will invite you to essentially listen to what I'm going to say right now. Indeed, Rakshasi Lankini is the spirit which is really close to Nama or Lilith in the Western tradition. Rakshasi Lankini is Rakshasa demon, which is kind of a vampiric dark entity which lives in the lower worlds. She feeds of human life force energy, but in return, she can grant wealth and spiritual power in return for your own life force. She can also infuse you with negative energy so you can become more powerful, or she can remove negative energy from you and make your life easier. Here in this video, I will share with you 3 rituals which utilize Rakshasi Lankini. All of the rituals mentioned here should be performed preferably at 3 a.m. But if you cannot perform them at 3 a.m., you should perform them at any day during the night. What do I mean by that? So, during any period of 24 hours during the night. So, you see the symbols on the screen. The symbols you see on the screen are yantra of Rakshasi Lankini. So the way to call Rakshasi Lankini is really simple. You already developed your astral senses while working with Gati Saman and Adhavina. So astral senses will not be a problem if you work with Lankini now, because you are already developed through the working with previous entities mentioned here. So just draw the yantra of Rakshasi Lankini on the piece of paper or on the floor in darkness and chant Rakshasi Lankini, Rakshasi Lankini, Rakshasi Lankini over and over again. The energy of Rakshasi Lankini will come through. After that happens, tell Lankini to merge with you and offer her alcohol and meat. And this is essentially a ritual to merge with Lankini and become one.
So you do this if you want long-term relationship with Lankini. If you want long-term relationship with Lankini, and if you want to progress in a tantric path, you should offer her alcohol and offer her meat and ask for merging. If you, however, don't want to merge with Lankini, you just want to have your life easier, you call Lankini in the same way but without offerings. And then you go into deep meditation and simply ask Rakshasi Lankini to eat your negative energy as a sacrifice and to feed of that and make your life easier, and tell her to eat your negative energy in order to nurture herself and in return make your life easier. And she will do exactly that. She will take negative energy and take it off you. You will kind of feel a little bit buzzed when that happens. Don't worry. There is a third thing you can do with Rakshasi Lankini. Okay, so we covered the first thing, which is to just call her and ask her for merging and offer her alcohol and meat. This is for those who want long-term relationship. If you want to have life easier, you just tell her to eat your negative energy. But there is a third request, which you can give to Rakshasi Lankini. And this is maybe the most dangerous, however, this is the one which will give you the most spiritual benefit. If you are a man or a woman, offering your sexual fluids to Lankini is one of the strongest things you can do as a tantric devotee. She takes great pleasure in absorbing that sexual essence of humanity, and she will bombard you with enormous amounts of negative energy. And in return for that offering, she can open gateway into any negative reality. You should also ask Lankini during that ritual to call other Rakshasa demons. To call other Rakshasa demons from Rakshasa Tala to devour you while you are doing the thing mentioned in the third request. So the reason why video about Lankini is so short and so concise is because working with Lankini is meant for people who already worked with Gatisamana and Kavina as well as Dante. So you are ready for the deep mysteries of Lankini only if you are familiar with previous spirits. Lankini is dangerous, but she is dangerous in a weird way. She will do exactly what you want, but she will ask for energy in return. And Lankini is the only spirit who can deliver money really reliably from the spirits on this list. So, regarding the spirits on this list, the spirits in this course, if you want a spirit who will give you like large amounts of money relatively quickly, Lankini is the lady. Lankini is the spirit to do that. However, Lankini will actually demand large amounts of energy. That's my experience. And Lankini will take that energy from somewhere. So, unless you want to merge with Lankini, you should be careful when you ask her for material things. Because if you ask her for material things without merging with her, that can be problematic. Because she will do what you ask, but she will take energy from somewhere. And I wouldn't advise coming to Lankini without offerings or without willingness to merge. If you are not willing to merge, give offering of your own negative energy and alcohol. If you are willing to merge, then give her offering and alcohol and merge, and then as the payment for merging, you will receive whatever you requested. So if you want both spiritual evolution and material evolution, I advise merging with Lankini. If you want only material evolution without spiritual evolution, I advise giving offerings to Lankini and offering her your negative energy, and then your prosperity, your material prosperity will increase. When you work with Lankini, a repetition of the ritual is required until your goal manifests, just like any other tantric spirit. Also, Lankini is the best if you want to open long-term portals of negative energy into your life. It is done by essentially calling Lankini and telling her to open those portals. Opening of those portals is individual for every single practitioner. I honestly don't think I am allowed to share those techniques. I will after I perfect them, but right now I think I am not an expert. I was just told to say that she can open those gateways to negative realms with great proficiency and great power, more than any other spirit mentioned in this course. So, those are unique capabilities of Lankini and abilities. When we talk about curses, Lankini is different than other spirits mentioned here. In my experience, she can be used for curses, but to tell you the truth, guys, I think Lankini is the best for money, magic, spiritual evolution, and gate openings. Mayalakan is the best for knowledge. Gatisaman and Atkavina are the best for beginners. Dantin is the best for raw amount of energy you can absorb. And Kalonemi is the best for higher mysteries. So if you want spirit for money out of spirits listed here, Lankini is the choice. But Lankini should be approached after Gatisaman and Atkavina. You can work with Dantin before Lankini, but you don't necessarily have to. So, with this information, the Lankini part of this course is over. There will be more videos on Lankini in the future. However, for now, since this is a really big course, we talked enough about Lankini, and let's talk about Kalanemi. So, essentially, Asura Kalanemi is the spirit we'll film video on today. I wanted to film video on Shiva, but first, before filming video on Shiva, I think it is important for me to film a video on Asura Kalanemi because he is really important in completing the tantric ladder. Now, I will explain what the tantric downward ladder is. So essentially, according to the Dravidian Ayanist teaching of Guru Dabal from the Ayan World Foundation, you cannot approach high-ranking deities first. You have to go to the lower deities in order to work with the higher ones. So you go down the realms. First you go to the Bhut and Preta realm, the realm of the restless ghosts. Then you go to the realm of Vinayakadantin and Pishachamayalakan. Then you go to Rakshasa Lankini. Then you go to Asura Kalanemi. And then you can approach Shiva and Kali. So essentially, Kalanemi is kind of final step before you reach Shiva, before you reach the highest of all destructive gods, Shiva and Kali. So before you reach them, you need to go to Kalanemi. So he is kind of close to the final gatekeeper. He is close to the final phase of negative spiritual development. Now, let me elaborate what is like the theological framework of this pathworking you are going to do. So, theological framework of this is as follows. All spiritual paths fundamentally lead to the one universal oneness, which is referred to as Brahman. And Brahman is beyond positive and negative, and therefore he can be reached through positive or negative energy. It's simply the matter of what route you take. No path is right or wrong. And so you are supposed to work with those negative entities with the goal of meeting and merging with the Brahman. You can use them for material reasons, but that is not the main purpose of working with those spirits. Fundamentally, the main purpose of working with those spirits is merging with the all, and that's the fundamental mission of those beings, to merge with the all. So, indeed, what you have to understand in this entire endeavor is that Kalanemi is there to fundamentally prepare you for union with Shiva. And if you are not willing to unite with Shiva, then he will kill you in order to unite you with Shiva. Because in death, we are all united with God, we are all united with the Brahman. So if you are not willing to merge with Shiva peacefully through negative energy, what he will do is he will do it through destroying you. It doesn't matter to those higher ranking negative beings. But it doesn't matter what route you take, you will end up merged with Shiva, aka the Brahman, anyway, because Shiva and Kali are on fundamental level the aspects of reality which are identical to the Brahman. Actually, all gods are identical to the Brahman, they are all aspects of the Brahman, but Shiva and Kali, if you go through negative route, more than those other spirits, more than some other spirits. So fundamentally, Kalanemi's goal is to merge you with the all. Just like any negative spirit, he will just do it in a really destructive way if you don't want to listen and if you don't want to follow the path. So Kalanemi's doctrine is essentially that you can unify with the Brahman through accumulating negative energy in the material world, and that is essentially his doctrine, Kalanemi's doctrine, that you can unify with the Brahman through collecting negative energy. Now, how you collect negative energy? You collect negative energy through negative deeds and through building up your material experience. So you essentially, in a ritualized context, enjoy material things in the presence of those negative spirits, and they merge with you and consume negative things with you, and they use the material things you consume in ritual to give you more negative energy, which then results in experience of spiritual importance. Now, let me explain how it goes. So, for example, you call Asura Kalanemi in ritual. Then you call Asura Kalanemi to merge with you and you drink alcohol. So in that action of drinking alcohol, you essentially increase the presence of Kalanemi in you, and you essentially will have stronger spiritual experience and resonance with Kalanemi, which will build up your resonance with Shiva through the negative path, which will eventually grant you the ability to withstand and witness the true reality. Now, there are many examples of this. You call Kalanemi, you merge with Kalanemi, you fuck, and you build up negative energy while merged with Kalanemi, and while fucking, while having sex, and then your energy, your negative energy increased, and that fundamentally builds up your spiritual power and union with the all. So this is essentially the rationale behind it. Through sexual act, through eating food, through drinking alcohol, through accumulating negative energy, with the help of those spirits, in ritual context, with those spirits, you essentially witness the supreme reality from the negative side. And that's the rationale. Now, I will give example of one of those rituals with Kalanemi for the audience. So you see the symbols of the screen. So the symbols you see on the screen is the yantra of Asura Kalanemi, right? This is symbols you use to call him. Now, I will essentially explain the entire ritual to you from A to Z, how to call him, but first I had to explain this, okay? Because some of the kind of previous entities in this course, previous negative Hindu entities I talked about, they could be used more for material purposes and you can disregard the spiritual stuff. But with Kalanemi, he is really not a spirit you should call to just make money. He will give you money, he will give you material experience, because that's necessary for work with him. But he is too of a high rank to just be called for material shit if you don't want to use it for your spiritual growth. So this is the reason why I kind of explained all of this, why I kind of had to go into detail on all of this. And before I explain how to call him, I will also elaborate some aspects of his character. So he is really proud, and he teaches people to turn off their perception of space and time. So you can directly see how the world looks beyond space and time. He can physically block the blood flow through your center in your brain, which is responsible for space and time. And he can make you see energy directly. This is a really traumatic experience. But you can ask it of him after you achieved significant level of resonance. He can also increase willpower, teach soul travel, accumulate negative energy, and bring all of the material things. But the thing is, if you ask him for material things, you are not supposed to just ask him for material things for the sake of enjoying it. You are supposed to ask them for the sake of your spiritual evolution. And that is indeed something which he appreciates. Now, once we really cleared it out, once I engraved it in your head regarding Kalanemi, what has to be understood is baneful magic within this context, right? Because Kalanemi is, of all spirits I ever mentioned in this tantric discourse, in this tantric course, the most destructive. He is the most willing to teach you how to use baneful magic for the purpose of spiritual elevation. Now, there is a really important warning here. Those rituals will increase resonance with him like crazy. But the thing is, you have to understand, he will push negative energy into you to such an extent that there could be misfortunes coming your way. Also, if you wanna call him to just make your life easier, you don't want any of this spiritual stuff from a negative side, okay? You just wanna call this guy to essentially make your life easier. You don't want to go any tantric route, do any tantric rituals. You just want to have easier life. You can use the technology to call Kalanemi, and you just tell him to leech off your negative energy, to remove your negative energy, and he will. But every time you call them to eat your negative energy, they will come and they will just eat the energy. But less negative energy you have, less dark energy you have, less you are likely to work with those spirits effectively for the purposes outside of just making your life easier and getting rid of that energy. Okay, so we cleared all of the names and ways Kalanemi can be used I am familiar with. Keep in mind that those are extremely complex entities and beings, and definitely you will find with many gurus and teachers that they have a different opinion on me than me, and they kind of think differently than me. Like, there is no orthodoxy within tantrism. It's like heterodox. The techniques are more or less accepted, but the experiences vary from a practitioner to a practitioner. Okay. So now we will go into explanation on how to call Kalanemi. So after midnight, around 3 a.m., you are supposed to draw those symbols you see on the screen, and you are supposed to vibrate the name of Asura Kalanemi over and over and over again while drawing the symbols on the piece of paper or on the floor. After you drew the symbols, keep vibrating and chanting Kalanemi's name. After that is done, you are supposed to keep chanting over and over again until the energy of Kalanemi appears. Then you will say to Kalanemi the following. Now, at this point, the phrasing will vary depending on what you want to do. After you do the symbols and you chanted Kalanemi's name long enough, you will feel some form of a pressure, energetic presence, which will indicate the spirit is there. Signs can vary. It can be cold in the room, heat in the room, tingling in your body, pressure in the room, weird dances of the light. Just when those signs appear, know that the spirit is there, heaviness in the room, and then keep chanting until the presence builds up to the point that you are kinda sure it's there. And then you can give your request to the spirit, right? Now, requests should vary depending on what you want to do. So, if you want to manifest some material requests for the sake of spiritual evolution, then you need to merge with Kalanemi first, right? So then you will say, Asura Kalanemi, I call you to merge with me and become one. And you will chant your request over and over again as a chant, right? His energy will start to enter your body and merge with you, and you will kind of feel his energy penetrating your aura really deep. At that point, you will keep chanting until you kind of feel that part of that energy integrated. And after that merging session reached that point in which auras overlapped, then, listen to me carefully, then you offer him alcohol as an offering. And then his presence will peak. You offer him alcohol, meat, milk, any kind of food. And once his presence peaked and increased, you tell him, I call you, O Kalanemi, mighty among the Asuras, to eat with me of this offering as one. And then you start eating. As you start eating, his presence will also jump even more, but this time in your body, right? And then after you ate with him and you finished eating and drinking, then you give your material request, right? Now this is a really powerful ritual of merging with him. So if you want to go tantric negative route and you want to merge with them and you want to get material things from them and evolve spiritually, this is the way you give your request. If you don't want to merge with them, you just want to call them to leech off your negative energy, this is the way you go. So, okay. You do the same thing. You call Kalanemi after the midnight by drawing his yantra on the floor on a piece of paper and chanting Asura Kalanemi over and over again until presence is felt. That is clear. But you don't give any offerings. Instead, when he appears, you say, O mighty Asura Kalanemi, the burdens of karma are hard on me. The burdens of world are hard on me. I ask you, Kalanemi, Lord of the Asuras, to devour my negative energy so I can be free from it and free from my negative karma, and I can reach all. Brahman, the Supreme. And he will do exactly that. After you give your request, he will simply start eating your negativity and breaking the chains of karma so that you essentially go into the higher realms easier. There is no offering here, and there is no merging with him here. You are asking him to eat your negative karma and negative energy so you can reach the higher realms easier. Okay, now let's explain what the karma is, because Kalanemi rules the laws of time, and time is closely connected to karma. Kalanemi is the demon responsible for the perception of time. He is spirit responsible for the perception of time. That's what Kalanemi means, right? Asura Kalanemi, right? So technically, okay, what is karma? Karma means the bondage. But in a philosophical sense and a fundamental sense, karma is simply the consequence of our actions. So every action, positive action, creates positive energy in the aura. Negative action creates negative energy in the aura. Karma is the energy you generate in your aura through your actions. Karma is actually, if you are enough spiritually aware, energy you can feel, positive or negative, right? That is karma. Karma is energy in your spiritual bodies. It is not an abstract philosophical concept. Now we understand better how to work with Kalanemi for both tantric purpose or to simply get rid of negative karma so we can reach celestial realms further. He is a negative being, but he can be used in two ways. He can be used to take away negative karma or bring more of negative energy so you can see the lower worlds and reach the Brahman through the tantric left-hand path route. Okay, I explained in this video everything you need to know about Kalanemi. There is also one thing I didn't say, which I think I was supposed to say. Kalanemi is preferably cold in complete darkness, so no electric lights. You can call him in any hour during the night, but as I said earlier, 3 a.m. is the most effective. But if you cannot nail 3 a.m., it can be any hour. Okay guys, so this is my Asura Kalanemi video. Talk to you soon.